Hi, can you guys hear me? I'm using new headphones. We're waiting for X-Rated is going to join us at 8:15. Can you hear me, Handy? Chelsea said yeah. Welcome. We're just waiting for X-Rated. He'll be here at 8:15. I know. I'm very sad. I can't talk too much because I was crying, so my voice is a little cracked. So we're just waiting. Um, Hold on. I know we're all devastated.
Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
What?
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you, hon.
I'm using new headphones. Hold on.
Hi, Hendy. Hi, Megan. Hi, Christina. It's like Romper Room. I spy. It's like Romper Room. I spy Tracy. Bonjour, Jules. Yeah, I'm sad too.
Okay, hello?
Rough day. Now I can hear you.
Okay, I'm gonna have to talk on speakerphone. The headphones aren't working.
Oh.
All right. Um,
Hi, Maria. We're playing Romper Room, Regina. Hi, Jules.
how's everybody doing?
Everybody's sad, and I think X will fix that.
I am very sad.
Yeah.
I was crying when you called me. I'm like, I can't talk.
Yeah. Well, I was shocked when he texted me, and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, we'll see."
I know. We're
Could you
very
give me? Could you give me 10 minutes? Yeah.
Lyle still has his parole hearing tomorrow.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh,
Yes, everybody's very disappointed.
oh yeah. But Lyle has his tomorrow, so we can't forget about Lyle.
Yes.
We can't.
Hi, Mika.
Uh, yeah, I feel bad for Lyle too, Chelsea, because I bet you that's heartbreaking to hear about your brother.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And then he still has to do his tomorrow.
and it's scary, you know. His night was like 10 hours long. That's very long.
Yeah.
Did you see what X said? Yes, I did. I did see this thing.
Hopefully he can come and cheer us up.
Yeah. I mean, I can
Yeah.
cheer you up too.
You both called me and I was crying. So
I called her. I was like, I have to make sure she's okay. Like, I was like, I have to call her and see if she's okay.
I'm like, I can't go live, Patrick. I'm crying. But here we are.
And
Yeah.
it's 8:14, so I won't begin texting him until 8:20.
Where's
X,
my
if you want it live, dub, come on.
where's
X,
my
if you want it live, dub, come on.
Guess what my percentage is at right now?
Oh god, 42?
42. Oh, that's. Oh, it's gonna be okay.
Bye, Christina.
Hi, Porves. Hi, Ivana. Hi, Trevor.
Porbs, it's me, Domingo. Hi.
My pores.
Oh, so
Gross.
many people.
Hi, little boat.
Hi, Nicole.
All the old
Hi,
timers
little
are here.
boat.
Everybody's back.
Can
Reunion.
we get a petition for Newsom for clemency? Unfortunately, we cannot do a petition. However, let's hope maybe Newsom Newsom pulls some strings.
Poor.
He could. You're having the energy to make Domingo. I have to laugh. Otherwise, I'll cry.
Sorry, Jada. It was last minute. That's why I chose a background.
I'm gonna
Um,
text Mr. Brown. It's 8:16.
yes. Oh, hi, Ivana. Hi, Angela. I hope you guys are having fun in LA. It is a reunion.
I wish it was better circumstances.
Right. I did too. It's been a long, long day. I think we're gonna have to wait to see what happens at Lyle's thing before Newsom intervenes. I really hope. I swear he said like happens at Lyle's thing before Newsom intervenes. Like board went like before he did. I swear he did an interview and he was like, "Yeah, let's see how the parole goes" or something. I let me find it, but I swear he said something like that. I could be wrong.
That
I could
sounds.
be lying, but I felt like he said something along the lines of like of that kind of stuff.
Incoming. That was his response. Incoming.
Tom, hurry before I cry again. The tears are there. Like they're gonna come any minute now.
Baby.
Hi, everybody.
So he dropped the clemency because they got resentenced to for 50 to life, and they had the opportunity for parole board. He dropped the whole clemency because he wanted them to go down that route and like be technically seen as like being fair. That's why he dropped it, because they got resentenced. Now, if they hadn't got resentenced, I think he would have kept the clemency thing up. But that's why. That was his
But
reasoning.
but the clemency is always on the table. Always.
Oh yeah, it's the clemency thing up. But that's why. That was his
But
reasoning.
but the clemency is always on the table. Always.
Oh yeah, it's still on the table. He technically hasn't gotten rid of it. But when they
Right.
got resentenced and the possibility of parole, he was like, "Well, let's see how the parole route goes, and let's do that." That's what
Right.
he basically said.
Yep.
Sophia, we're not related. We just know each other from
Activating.
advocating. Oh God. Here
Well,
I go.
activating too. Yeah.
Activating spells. No, we're not relatives, even though I call Patrick my grandpa.
There you go.
I can't
Um,
see, so I can't hear. Sorry.
And I'm Regina's bully. So
Tracy, I think that as
Patrick
well
and
that
Dano.
he said that. So I guess we'll have to see. I guess we'll have to be patient. But I think I agree with Tracy. I thought he said something like if they didn't get parole, he would go ahead with the clemency route. So I don't know. This is
We are the sheep family, yes. Hi, Angela. I hope you're having fun.
hi,
Um,
Angela.
guess where she's driving to, Jules?
In-N-Out Burger.
You got it.
ah,
Oh yeah.
gross.
Oh yeah. That was the first thing I was like, Patrick, when I got to California, I was like, Patrick, we gotta go to In-N-Out Burger. Sorry about that.
Mr. Brown, where are you?
I like King Taco. I don't like In-N-Out. He said he's coming right now.
Yeah, that's
Mm.
he wrote incoming. So
Okay, because my eyes are welling up again. Okay, because my eyes are welling up again.
Sorry, I just
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, I don't think there's going to be a lot of questions asked. I think he just wants. Yeah, and just so everybody knows, I don't think there's going to be a lot of questions asked. I think he just wants to talk to the tribe. He just wants to speak on what happened today. So I don't think
yeah.
I don't want to hold him up a long time either. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah, I think I agree, Patrick. I think that's what.
Why he reached
Also,
out. Yeah.
yeah. I told Robert Ram that we were going live if he wanted to. I know he's probably super busy, and I even said that I was like, I know you're like probably super busy and all this, but we're going live if you want to like pop in and say hi.
He has to be so busy.
Oh yeah, I even said that I was like, I know you're probably super busy.
Mm-hmm. What a long day, though.
What? It's been a very, and you know what's even worse is like we're gonna.
What a long day, though.
What? It's been a very, and you know what's even worse is like we're gonna do this all tomorrow, and like it's gonna be super long
Okay,
tomorrow.
X is here.
Oh, good.
Dun, 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 dun.
Because my eyes were welling up.
Hi, X.
Hi.
Hello, how are we doing?
Good.
Oh, you
You
know.
gotta make X. You gotta make Regina stop crying, though.
I've been crying all day.
I think we gotta let Regina get it out. Get it out.
I'm crashing out. I need you.
There's no crying in baseball. All right. So I really did want to talk to everybody about this. I feel like all right. So I really did want to talk to everybody about this. I feel like it's really important for us to have some perspective, especially while emotions are running high. I just want to provide some perspective. When I interestingly, I was with Eric and I got the denial and I'm walking back and Eric had already knew the news travels fast in there. So by the time I made it back to the yard, the officers had already called and told other officers over the radio. So Eric's waiting for me at the gate. And Eric was the one who explained to me why the 3-year denial. So Eric's waiting for me at the gate. And Eric was the one who explained to me why the 3-year denial wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Because I was distraught. I really did feel like I was going home. I felt like I had a really good shot. The hearing felt really good. It went really well. They didn't tell me to go back to the yard and do anything. You know, they usually deny you and say, hey, you know, go do A, B, C, and D. They give you a list of things to do. They essentially just told me to go stay out of trouble. So I'm like, I could stay out of trouble in my house. Like, if you want me to stay out of trouble, send me home. But in retrospect, I walked through that gate and Eric is right there and he's like, hey man, pick your head up. This is what we got to do. It's going to be 18 months. He explained it all to me. You know, it gave me an attaboy. You did a great job and let's get busy. And I spent the next 18 months doing life care and hospice connections, doing the POOCH program, tender loving canine assistance dogs, went back to board, was given a grant 18 months later. And then I went home shortly after that. So went back to board, was given a grant 18 months later. And then I went home shortly after that. So this process, well, I think I'm like the only person that could really relay this, but this process is the process that's going on. Like what I experienced that got me sitting in my house right now is exactly what Eric just went through. The long shot of getting a grant at an initial suitability hearing is very low. It's a long shot. And so I never would have said that in my private conversations. You know, a couple lawyers, my family, you know, if they're like, are you okay? How are you feeling? You know, I'm like, hey, I think if we get, I think the best case scenario for us is probably 3-year denial. So I've been saying that in my private discussions since, I don't know, for a couple months now. And the reason is that CDCR just does not give outright grants at initial hearings. They just don't do it. It's not a normal thing. The same way when I say getting a low risk assessment is very difficult to do, specifically the CRA, not the static risk assessment, but the comprehensive risk assessment. Getting a low on those is just almost impossible to do because we were damaged. The reason we weren't there because we were perfect. We obviously had horrific experiences or crimes. We made bad decisions. We weren't all the way put together. So we're already showing up at a disadvantage. And then you have that misbehavior while we're acclimated to our new reality. The psychological mud you got to swim through to come to the determination of what kind of person you want to be. So there's out of a 36-year period, even if someone spent a decade discovering themselves and then spent the next 25 years doing the right thing, they're still going to say this in this period of time you were such a horrible person, and you just have to own it, which is what Eric did. So this is about as good of an outcome as we really could have expected, and I'm sure that Eric is feeling. He's gonna, your hopes get up, but Eric is a realist. He knows that. He knows the reality of what he's dealing with. He sees people go to board all the time. He helps people prepare for board. We all were doing that when we were together, and it helped me prepare for board. And so this isn't someone who doesn't prepare for board. We all were doing that when we were together, and it helped me prepare for board. And so this isn't someone who doesn't understand the nuances. Eric 100% understands the nuances. So I believe in extraordinary circumstances. This isn't someone who doesn't understand the nuances. Eric 100% understands the nuances. So I believe in extraordinary circumstances and outcomes. I believe in miracles because we've had a lot of them, a lot of extraordinary things. But I believe that this is a continuation of that. We just have to have the perspective to be able to understand what we just experienced. We have gone from life without the power of the world to 50 years to life to receiving the lowest possible denial. I know denial is a hard word, but for those of us who were in life to receiving the lowest possible denial. I know denial is a hard word, but for those of us who were in that place, a 3-year denial is like you got a toe outside of the prison. It's like I got a leg out of here. You pretty much just got to go lay low. He's going to have to walk on eggshells for the next 18 months. I'll say that last 18 months of my life was probably the most challenging portion of my time I ever did. The most petty, circumstances you could ever think of. They all happened, like the dumbest stuff. So you got to be very careful. I saw a guy leave the kitchen with an apple. He wanted to eat his apple later. An officer decided he was stealing the apple, so he got a 150 for that while he was waiting for board. So you got to make very good decisions, which Eric is 100% capable of doing. So I have to say, if Charles Manson got 15-year denials, I'm not going to compare myself or Eric Lyle to Charles Manson because he was an idiot. But I say this only to point out the severity of what they could have done. They gave Charles Manson a 15-year denial of his last appearance at board, which was essentially a death sentence. He died shortly thereafter without ever making it back to board. So they de facto gave him a death penalty and gave him a 15-year denial. They can give you 15 years, 10 years, 7 years, 5 years, or 3 years. First try, Eric Galen Melendez gets a 3-year denial and will be going back to board in 18 months. That's really good. I understand we all want to be so upset right now, but I'm telling you, this is really good. This is really good. This is really good. If they gave him a 5-year denial, I'd be upset. I'd be like, there's no way the record that he has, everything that he's done, would have justified a 5-year denial. I'd be upset. I'd be like, there's no way the record that he has, everything that he's done would have justified a 5-year denial. The 3-year denial is 1 foot out the door. That's it. Everybody I know who has gotten a 3-year denial stayed out of trouble for 18 months. They went home. I would dare say 100% of them, to my knowledge, and what I experienced watching people go to board, 100% of the people that I'm conscious of that got a 3-year denial, did the 18 months and went back to board and stayed out of trouble. Literally just stay out of trouble. Not go get another degree, go train 20 dogs. Literally stay out of trouble for 18 months. Lay low. They do, I feel like they make preparations. I think it's a time issue. I believe they want to give more time between disciplinary infractions. In my case, at a fight, they use 7 years, you to be 7 years removed from violence. Eric doesn't have that kind of stuff on his file, especially anytime soon. And if he ever did, he wasn't an aggressor. So we don't have that problem. But any infraction, you want a certain amount of time. And if he ever did, he wasn't an aggressor. So we don't have that problem. But any infraction, you want a certain amount of time away from that so that the governor doesn't gun it down. They'll play it because the board might want to let you go, but they know we're going to give you a grant. The governor can poke holes in it by these 5 things. And so they're gonna give you a little bit more time so that when you go back and they give you the suitability finding, you also can. And so they're gonna give you a little bit more time so that when you go back and they give you the suitability finding, you also can make it past the governor. Because if they gave him a grant right now, I think we got a great shot because it's Newsom, frankly. But typically, you get that in front of the governor, and if it's not enough time between the last disciplinary infraction, if it's anything in there that's kind of a little bit of a wobble, the governor is going to gun it down. And then we're back in court. Wobble, the governor is going to gun it down. And then we're back in court suing over that, trying to get an answer of why they did get us back to board faster. So 3-year denial. When the governor gets that, after we get our grant in 18 months, which we will do, Eric is going to stay out of trouble. He's going to do just as great as he's always done. I have no doubt about that. 18 trouble. He's going to do just as great as he's always done. I have no doubt about that. 18 months after 35 years is sitting in there of this experience overall. 18 months. To Eric, it's like 5 minutes, frankly, just being honest. I'd done 24 years when they told me I was on my way home. And I mean, they told me, they didn't tell me, they told the family, if he goes back out there and does exactly what he's doing right now and comes back in here, you have to prepare yourselves for the fact that he's going home. So like I had that on record when I walked back up to Eric and I'm standing here freaked out and he's like, hey, man, we got work to do. So the same person who could rationalize to me the work that we had to do and why I needed to be in the correct spirits and understanding what we were about to do, what I was about to experience. He 100% knows that for himself. So I want you all to just don't fall into despair. Don't think we need to get pitchforks and light torches. That's not the correct response. It's not the correct response. Like protesting is a mistake. There's nothing to
Agree.
We would be protesting a victory. We just won. If you could talk to any prisoner's rights attorney in the state of California right now, like I've been texting Charles Carbone back and forth. He's the one who got me out. I actually arranged a attorney visit between Carbone and Lyle. And, you know, their attorney's phenomenal, of course. In my humble opinion, Charles Carbone is the preeminent prisoner rights attorney in the United States of America. So, you know, I definitely wanted him, Lyle and Eric, to have some communication. But any prisoner's rights attorney that you could speak to right now is going to tell you this is a victory. This is like, they would have called it. They've all like, hey, this is probably going to be a 3-year denial. we'll go back in 18 months, we'll get a grant, and that'll get us past the governor. So I don't want any of you to not, because you don't have an understanding, and we've lost so many different times in so many different ways, and it just drags out and it feels like forever. That is not what just happened to us this time. That's not what we're experiencing. And it just drags out and it feels like forever. That is not what just happened to us this time. That's not what we're experiencing. And a 3-year denial, which would be 36 months, do 50% of that time, and you appear back before the board. We don't have to petition for that. It is not something we have to send a request for. It is an automatic trigger. And if you make it to 18 months disciplinary free, you're automatically going back to board in that 18th month. 100%.
Sorry, X, I don't mean to cut you off, but like, yes, this like sucks, but like you're explaining, but we also, the habeas corpus is still
Right.
alive and well, and you know, so that's also, we have this other pathway to freedom as well. Like this is not the end all be all. Like there is the 18 months, but also we have the habeas corpus, which right now is going well. You know,
Very
the judge has not thrown it out. We are still going for the habeas corpus right now. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just think
No, it's not an interruption. I feel like that's a great.
habeas corpus right now. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just think
No, it's not an interruption. I feel like that's a great thing to point out. I pointed that out to people, and we have to be conscious of the politics at play. Like you can have people aware, like, hey, let's see what happens with this habeas. Let's do this. Let's do that. It's a lot of discussions going on that we're unaware of. This is conjecture on my part, but it's a very politically charged case, a politically charged circumstance, and it would be naive of us to think that politics don't play a part in this entire experience. So
most definitely.
the habeas is, we might not even make it to 18 months with the way things are going with the habeas, but it's great to have that in our back pocket. I just don't want any negative. I really would like to not have negativity directed at RJ Donovan,
Yeah.
especially in consideration that the brothers are there, how important RJ Donovan has been to all of this. If they were housed at some other institution, there's an argument that we would not have made it this far in having these particular outcomes. Yeah, it's very much possible.
Yeah.
If they weren't at San Quentin, maybe Ironwood, it's probably 3 yards that are even remotely close. And I don't, Echo is just the perfect circumstance. Eric and Lyle, pillars of that community, they are not. You could see all of the letters of support that came from those correctional officers. That is unheard of. I received a pretty good amount of them, but frankly speaking, Lyle and Eric played a role even in me getting those letters. Yeah, I wasn't gonna go ask the prison guard to give me a letter, but Eric went up and said, "Hey, what's your?" He went and had those conversations, like, "Hey, Honore, that officer write a chrono talking about what you've done in this music program. Hey, this officer that oversees the dog program, that officer write a chrono talking about what you've done in this music program. Hey, this officer that oversees the dog program is willing to write about what he's observed about your character in the dog program." So like Eric and Lyle were telling me to go and do that stuff. So the fact that they have that kind of positive perception of themselves in that community is one of the reasons why we don't want to make it out like RJ Donovan is such a negative thing or they've done something so horrible. Like, this is not a bad outcome. And that there isn't anywhere else. This is not a bad outcome. And that there isn't anywhere else we would prefer for them to be while they do the rest of this time pending habeas or outcomes with board. The 18 months or Lyle even getting a grant tomorrow for all we know. So the last thing we would Lyle going to board tomorrow.
So someone asked, sorry again to interrupt, but someone asked because they were saying that Eric was seen as a moderate risk, and someone wanted to know if when you went up, were you seen as a moderate risk when you went up to the parole board?
Yes, absolutely a moderate. And I dare say that anybody who is getting a comprehensive risk assessment is going to end up being a moderate. There is no guy who's going to get a low. I've never met him before. You have to be the warden's clerk for 35 years and never got an RVR and was a passenger in the car, didn't necessarily do anything. Like the extraordinary circumstances of the guy that gets the low risk assessment, they don't pass those out. That's just not something assessment. They don't pass those out. That's just not something they do. So the media doesn't understand it and they say, oh my God, they're a moderate risk for recidivism. Well, guess what? Eric wasn't given a 3-year denial as a result of the moderate risk assessment. They didn't say that. They said it was due to the disciplinary record and things that needed to be addressed regarding that. They didn't say the crime itself, which is an immutable factor. There are other mitigators like his chronos and his education and things like that. They specifically referenced his disciplinary history. They didn't reference the moderate risk assessment because to them, a moderate risk assessment is normal. It's normal to the board. So the media and the district attorney assessment, because to them, a moderate risk assessment is normal. It's normal to the board. So the media and the district attorney and the courts who don't deal with CRAs all the time are unaware. So to them, it's moderate because it's not low, but a low is a unicorn. It's literally a unicorn. I've never met a person that got a low risk assessment in 26 and a half years of incarceration and 7 years free being a part of criminal justice reform. I've literally never met that unicorn, ever.
And some people are also curious if they're hoping for the best for tomorrow with Lyle, but say if Lyle also gets denied, do you think Governor Newsom could still grant clemency? Like, could go ahead and grant clemency?
He
Some people are
could.
curious about that. I want to see what your opinion was on it.
He could grant him clemency if he so chose. I think in a politically charged circumstance with the habeas, it's so political right now. And it's unfortunate and fortunate for us that we have so many different paths to freedom for our guys. The unfortunate part is if you're a politician, you can look at the landscape and say, hey, let's see how this habeas goes, right? It's a pass the buck kind of thing. If I don't have to put my name on it, I won't. The habeas does it. They walk, I want them free, but I see that I'm going to get that outcome. Let's see what happens. If I have to intervene, I'll intervene. You know, but if you don't have to, the person's not going to do it if they don't have to. They're going to allow it to play out the way it'll play out. Like they had their life without the possibility parole hearings that they could have went to this special board that was assembled by Newsom. And it's like, we're going to hold off until we find out what goes on with the resentencing. And then Jessica's like, well, we also have this other thing going on with the potential for clemency and also this special parole hearing for lifers without the possibility of parole that the governor's put together, this panel. So now Jessica has to figure out how to navigate all of that because he has all these without the possibility of parole that the governor's put together, this panel. So now Jessica has to figure out how to navigate all of that because he has all these extraordinary circumstances. So it muddies the water, but it also gives us more paths. So we have to be grateful for it, but it definitely contributes and makes it more challenging for us.
Yeah, I agree. It's a pathway, but it's so. I mean,
More challenging for us.
yeah, I agree. It's a pathway, but it's so. I mean, it's been political since 1990. It's in 35 years. You know, it's been political for so long. So it's just.
Yep. And it'll stay that way.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, it'll stay that way. But we're benefiting from some of these politics, but as well, you know, we've reaped benefits in certain kind of ways of the fighting. It comes down to what it comes down to. So Lyle and Eric deserve to be free for the work that they've done in that environment they did it in, coming from a place of utter hopelessness. People with life without the possibility of parole are not model inmates. If you go and make a list of 1,000 of them, Lyle and Eric will be at the top of the 1 percentile of people in terms of behavior because it is the single most hopeless percentage of the population and typically the most dangerous to be around because they have absolutely nothing to lose. The guys that are going to stab up and slice up their cellies or attack an officer or do something stupid in a visiting room, whatever it may be. This guy's never getting out. So I don't care what are you going to do? Put me in a dungeon for 4 years? Like, I'm going to get out of there and now what?
Yeah.
Now what?
And
You know, these guys are completely hopeless and it's dangerous to have to live around them, frankly. And Lyle and Eric are the cream of the crop in relation to that. So I think we're going to be just fine.
Eric said that as well today, because there was also bits of the, like, after it had come out, there was news bits that were coming out about what happened during and, like, what was said and all that kind of stuff. And he even mentioned that, some of the stuff he did, he was like, I had life without the possibility of parole. I thought I was never going to get out of there. And, that's what he thought. Like, he thought he was going to spend the rest of his life in prison and he was going to die in prison. Like, that's what he thought.
That's not just what he thought. Like, let's just use this particular vernacular. 100% he was not getting out of prison. So it wasn't a thought. He knew he was never getting out of there. So when we go back to extraordinary circumstances and miracles, the reason we use these words, when I got to prison, Pete Wilson was all of us. I have a K number. I discharged. Eric and Lyle have K numbers. When I got to prison, Pete Wilson was all of us. I have a K number. I discharged. Eric and Lyle have K numbers. That when we entered CDCR, there was no R on it. It was the California Department of Corrections. Rehabilitation got added on. No, there was no R on it. It was the California Department of Corrections. Rehabilitation got added on in 05, 06 when the feds threatened to take their funding. So they added rehabilitation to the CDCR. It became CDCR. Only 2% of people with a 31 to life or 25 to life, only 2% of those people were being paroled. And the percentage of those people who made it past the governor it was even my circumstance, I believed I was never getting out of there. I knew it, like I'm never going home. So my first decade, really long, my first decade and a half was I'm never getting out of here. And then maybe I'll get out of here. Maybe. It turned into a maybe by 05, 06. I was like, maybe I'll go home. And then we saw what happened with Miller versus Alabama in the Supreme Court. And I had 31 to life. Lyle and Eric had life without the possibility of parole. So while even guys like me knew we were never getting out with a 2% chance, talk about a guy who needs to be the warden's clerk and never got an RVR, like the flawless, perfect inmate that's a cop by any other definition. They got to give him a badge. If he wasn't an inmate, they give him a badge. Like, that's the guy that's getting out. We just knew we were never going home. And then we saw miracles occur. The Supreme Court made incredible rulings. Those rulings caused the California Supreme Court to make specific rulings. And then the SB 261 were drafted, and we get the youth offender law in 2012, 2013 due to Governor Brown and Gavin Newsom. So that's a miracle. So you get to 2012, you got to go from 1989, this crime occurs, both trials, they go to prison and get separated, and you time travel to 2012. And it's like, well, there's a youth offender law, but guess what? It doesn't even apply to people with life without the possibility of parole. So I'm still trying to tell them, they're like, you're going home. And I'm like, so are you guys. And they don't want to hear anything about it. And this is 2012, 13, 14, 15. And so, again, we have another miracle, 12, 13, 14, 15. And so, again, we have another miracle. We get the resentencing. They get, adjusted to 50 to life and become youth offenders. That's a miracle. So this behavior that they're observing, miracle. So this behavior that they're observing is a human being coming to terms with the fact that they are among the living dead. You know, I wrote a song called Return of the Living Dead. That's all about this whole thing, coming to terms with the fact that your life is over, but you're alive. And your family's mourning you, but you're alive. Your absence is being mourned. So you're alive and dead at the same time. And you have to figure out, what are you going to do? Am I going to be, I can see men around me getting high and they're drinking, and what kind of life do I build for myself? I'm sports and TV shows and exercise, and like, what do you do? What do you do? You have to have a life. Only a handful of people, and coming from an inherently good place within themselves that is legitimate, make the decision to do something decent in the face of that. It's not normal to decide to clean up and get their lives together when there was no hope of having any positive outcome for themselves as a result of doing that. And so, of course, a person self-medicated, and among other things. And so, of course, a person self-medicated, and among other things, of course. I mean, I self-medicated. I spent my first decade, man, I got high, I drank. My first decade, man, I got high, I drank, I hung out in the visiting room, I watched football games, I exercised. My life was, I had a horrible life experience. You know, I wrote raps and tried to, like, this was, this is what I perceive life to be. And so, you know, I think the board is more aware than anyone could give them credit for. They've heard every story, they've heard every excuse, they've heard every bit of game that somebody could try to run on them. Those commissioners, I dare say, are just good people. But Commissioner Roberts, when I went to board, was just a good man, and he was a conservative Republican Christian of all things. The very person who would have thrown the book at me, then, as some would argue, the person they expect to would want to bury me in prison, was the one who believed that I had done everything that I was supposed to do, and he released me. And so, along with Deputy Commissioner Fleming, Karen Fleming, these aren't people who don't understand that somebody's going to struggle when they first walk in there. Because these aren't people who don't understand that somebody's going to struggle when they first walk in there. Because guess what? If you're Kaiser Sosa and you show up to prison and you're the perfect model inmate and you just never get in trouble, and it's like, you mean to tell me you messed up outside and you show up to prison and you're the perfect model inmate and you just never get in trouble? And it's like, you mean to tell me you messed up outside in the free world and got to prison and just figured it all out day one? They're going to say, oh, he's a sociopathic mastermind. He's going to get a high risk assessment, and you're never getting out of prison, and you literally never got in trouble. But they're going to say, this dude is a sociopath. And so there has to be some acclamation. When you see the guys who've really changed their lives and rehabilitated, there's a period in their central file where you can see they clearly struggled. And then you can see when the behavior stopped. You see, this guy used to refuse to go to work. Like, I refuse to go to work. Lau refused to go to work. He's Lau Menendez. Guess what? It's not safe to just go to any job site when you're Lau Menendez. Nobody wants to talk about that because we're all supposed to be tough guys. To just go to any job site when you're Lau Menendez. Nobody wants to talk about that because we're all supposed to be tough guys. But I had to go behind the wall and go to this. I'm never going to be a janitor. You want me to go learn how to vacuum and do HVAC like janitor? You want me to go learn how to vacuum and do HVAC? Like, I'm going to ever get out and be an HVAC guy? Like, I'm a platinum recording artist and they want me to go learn how to do HVAC. You know how many years it took to say I'm X rated, but I'm going to go learn this stupid course because I'm never going to use it. Even if I got out, I'm never going to do HVAC because I'm never going to use it. Even if I got out, I'm never going to do HVAC or be a janitor somewhere. Nothing wrong with that, but I'm not going to ever do it. Be do HVAC or be a janitor somewhere. Nothing wrong with that, but I'm not going to ever do it. So I'm gonna refuse to go. I'm absolutely not going in there. My first decade, they couldn't pay me to go to work. They definitely not for 8 cents an hour either.
Oh my God.
The amendment slave for 8 cents an hour, doing 8 hours of work on for 8 cents an hour, doing 8 hours of work on a vocation that I'm never gonna use because I have life in prison, never getting out to be a janitor. So to think that that guy who has to come to some form of acceptance of his lot in life and say, you know what, I'm going to go to this job assignment because it's the responsible thing to do. I have a job assignment, and I'm going to talk to the person that's in charge of it and try to figure out some other job that does align with my perception of myself or my set of skills. And that's how you end up being a clerk or things like that, that Lau and Eric figured out how to navigate and put themselves in circumstances where they could be who they are and still have some modicum of dignity while they were in there. You know, I had to mop a tier before. I sold 1 million records and I'm mopping a tier. I had a guy say, hey, it's X-rated mopping the tier. I had a guy say, hey, it's X-rated mopping the tier. And I'm like, right? You gotta, what I'm gonna do? Beat him up? I can beat him up. I can send a crew of guys to beat him up. What am I gonna gain out of that? Whatever I had to say in response to that, or identify that, hey man, if in response to that, or identify that, hey man, if I'm a famous rapper and I'm willing to mop a tier and you're not, what does that say about you? You
Yeah.
know, who's doing what they're supposed to do and who's not? Because it's mop the tier, or I'm going to get another RVR and I got to go sit here in front of the sergeant. Why didn't you go to work, Mr. Brown? Hey, man, I'm never going to do it. And now I got a disciplinary infraction. And why didn't you go to work, Mr. Brown? Hey, man, I'm never going to do it. And now I got a disciplinary infraction. You're getting one of those every 90 days for refusing to go to work. Eric and Lyle both racked those up. So did I in my first decade. You have to figure it out. You have to figure it out. And so that's normal for them to examine the first, there's like, they chop your experience in thirds. First third, the second third, and the third third. How did you progress throughout the years? The clinical realm, the historical realm, and then the present circumstances. They examine all three of those. The commissioners 100% expect to see an escalation in misbehavior, a de-escalation in misbehavior, and then a complete ceasing of it. That's a normal thing to witness as someone goes from de-escalation in misbehavior and then a complete ceasing of it. That's a normal thing to witness as someone goes from, 18, 22, 3 years old to 50 years old while incarcerated. So these people under the 50 years old while incarcerated. So these people understand. They do. A lot more than we would give them credit for. The commissioners get it.
Yeah, and these people, it happens. I mean, look at people, some of the stuff that some of these people get written up for are things that everybody does in everyday life. It's not, what can you expect? You put someone in a freaking small cement, house, not even a house, like a walls, 4 walls, right? And you, with loads of different people, what do you expect is gonna happen? What do you think is gonna, people are gonna do stuff, and I think case, we're all human and we all do stuff. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Estelle, that's it. I couldn't think of the word. I was like, the 4 walls, I couldn't think of the word.
I'm
I was
glad you
like,
couldn't think of it. No one should think of it. It's inhumane. I have closets in my house larger than the cells I lived in.
oh my God.
I remember one day I was in my closet, arranging my shoes, and a big old roll of shoes and section, and I was telling my lady, my cell was smaller than this. Like, can you believe that? And she was mortified. She just looked at me. She was so sad. She just couldn't believe it. I'm like, I just was, and I'm all happy. I wasn't saying it like, oh my God, this is so sad. I was like, wow, like my closet's bigger than my cell was. This is crazy. Like I was more tripping off of my closet was bigger than the cell, but it made her so sad. And it occurred to me like, wow, then I'm looking at it from that perspective, like, wow, like my cell was smaller than this closet. Like, can you imagine that? And so I don't know, man. I think there's a lot that goes into a person cleaning up their lives and getting themselves together. And the commissioners, in my humble opinion, have seen it all themselves together. And the commissioners, in my humble opinion, have seen it all. And Lau and Eric aren't the typical circumstances that they would encounter. You could be doing this 30 years as a commissioner and not have somebody walk in there with that much rehabilitative circumstances in their file, evidence and demonstrations of rehabilitation. As much as Lau and Eric have, they have to be moved by that. So, and that's why we got a 3-year denial. Denial is a harsh word, but that's the name of it. You either get a finding of suitability or you get denied. So it's like, oh, you got a denial, and we all see that word, and it's like the worst word ever. But the reality of it is that a 3-year denial in reality is you do 50% of that and have an automatic 18-month return to the board. Nothing that they have to do. They just go back to board in 18 months. And you typically go home. Like Eric is going to go back in 18 months if the habeas isn't completed by then. And he's going to be out of there. It will be February of 2027 back to board at the latest. And he'd be out of there by June of 27. He'd be at home. So as someone who lived it, like that exact experience, I mean, I walked out of board. The time it took me to get back to yard was probably 15 minutes. So I'm 15 minutes removed from getting the exact outcome that Eric did. And I walked up to Eric Menendez and he was like, you're going home. He was like, you are getting out of here. This is great. And I'm like, well, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm all freaked out. He got to get me. Yeah, I was not okay. I was not happy. And but here's Eric, like, come on, man, like, this is a good thing. Like, hey, you just went from 31 to life to 18 months from now, you're getting out of here. It's like 18 months. We can do it. 18 months. And, frankly speaking, at that point, I'm 24, 25 years in, and 18 months was a blink to me. It was a blink. 18 months is a blink to all of us, even out here, time is flying. I wake up in the morning and I disintegrate a day. I don't know what the hell happened. If I go off of mission for 2 minutes, it'll destroy 7 hours of my life. It's just, time is flying. And so 18 months for Eric Menendez. 18 months and we're back at board. Who knows what kind of phenomenal goodness he's able to do in that period of time. Who knows what occurs. So I'm stoked. I'm not going to lie. I'm stoked having been in that situation. I just feel like, I'm stoked. I'm not going to lie. I'm stoked having been in that situation. I just feel like we won. That was a big time victory. And that yard they feel that way. The men out there that welcomed Eric back to that yard, people like 18 months, man, you got this. Like, he walked back, because I walked back into that. The guys were celebrating, the men in my groups, the guys that were a part of my programs. Like, you got to imagine the people who were looking at Eric like, yo, 18 months, man, 18 months, you got this. Like, he's walking back into a very warm environment of people rooting for him. They're not mourning in there. They're not mourning. The lifers, the guys that have life sentences and things of that nature who have to deal with this stuff, they all of them know that this is a W. And so I don't want to be out here the only person who's like, I'm like, hey, a 3-year denial is actually awesome. Because I just had a thing on Banfield. I went on News Nation tonight, and man, with a couple of the guys, for a second, I almost got off the stream because I'm listening to this guy talking about justice was served, and I'm like, I'm not being interviewed by this dude. But then I'm mentally thinking, somebody's got to combat this cat.
Was
So
it
I'm
Matt
like, well, maybe
Murphy?
I got to do it.
Was it Matt
And so I'm
Murphy?
sitting here mentally battling, like, where's Ashley Banfield at? Because I don't want to talk to this dude.
Was it Matt
And so I'm
Murphy?
sitting here mentally battling, like, where's Ashley Banfield at? Because I don't want to talk to this dude. And for real. And then next thing you know, the right person. I had a really good interview, and I just was able to get those points in because they would want to run with this and say, Eric was denied, and the same way they did with the moderate. You hear me beating the drum the whole time. Hey, moderates aren't bad. Low risk assessments are unicorns. Like, who's gonna know that? But I'm free. I had a moderate risk assessment, and I'm in my house right now talking to you on a live on TikTok. Like, I had a 3-year denial, and I'm on TikTok right now. Right? This is Eric's future. We're talking about Eric's future.
I think
So
so
I
many.
went through. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think so many people look at the tiniest bit of information and they run with it. Right now I've looked on social media after it came out, and people are just like running with the smallest bits of information, like, oh, he's been denied, that means he's never gonna go up against a parole board again. I'm like, no, that's not, no, like, that's not it. People just find the media and all that, find the smallest bits of information, and they blow it out of proportion, and they run with it. And I'm like, this is what I do. Like, I'm currently in college to learn the legal system and all this stuff. Like, I know how this works, and like, I understand the parole board. But other people, they're just like, oh, you got denied parole, that means he's never getting out of prison. I'm like, that's not true,
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, they like to validate their BS. Whatever narrative they got. Yep. Yeah, they like to validate their BS. Whatever narrative they got going, any little thing that they think about. Like, Hockman is so annoying to me because his ignorance of the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation's processes. He uses that as if it substantiates his narratives. And those of us in the know, and it is a little esoteric society in a way where how many of us have been lifers or had life without the possibility of parole? How many of us have voices that have actually had to go to board? How many of us actually were there? So our voices are, especially who have platforms like I'm fortunate to have. Our voices are, especially who have platforms like I'm fortunate to have, to where I can even get out there and speak up for Lau and Eric. We have to be able to combat some of this stuff so that we can identify what's normal and not. Like about the California Static Risk Assessment, and then the CRA, like, hey, the CRA and the Static Risk Assessment are two different things. They're not the same. And then the CRA, like, hey, the CRA and the Static Risk Assessment are two different things. They're not the same. Can you please stop talking about that? Like, yeah, they had a low on the Static Risk Assessment, but they have a moderate now. And it's like, hey, a moderate's not bad. Like, I don't know why you're so determined for the word moderate to be horrible. Like, that's normal. I'm like, hey, everybody, I had a moderate and I'm free now. Like, a moderate is not a horrible thing. Same thing. 3-year denial because he's horrible. And it's like 3-year denial is the lowest possible denial. They gave Manson 15-year denial and let him die in his cell on his bunk. Like, they didn't give Eric Menendez Eric Menendez just got a 3-year denial. One of the Menendez brothers. That's a victory. If there's a guy in that prison who is not X-rated, he's not Eric or Lyle, it doesn't have our notoriety, which could be a negative for us in this circumstance. That guy's thinking, if Eric Menendez just got a 3-year denial, I'm getting the hell out of here when I go to court. Like, it's people with hope out there right now because Eric got the lowest possible outcome when you could think, hey, all things considered, and Eric Menendez can get smacked with a 7-year denial just because they want to make an example. Here you go. Who's going to complain about it outside of us? Right? What politicians are going to be mortified? I know Gavin Newsom would have definitely given him clemency. If he gave him a 7-year denial, Newsom would have been like, all right, I've had enough. But, you know, the good thing is I do understand it. I love that I have the tribe. I know everybody was busy and going through it psychologically, trying to navigate and understand this. We've all been on pins and needles all day. And like, I filmed a segment for my album today. I moved my album release date. The record label doesn't understand. So they're like, yeah, on the 21st, then the 20th, then the 21st, we're having you do these things. And I'm like, I'm not doing that on those days. Like, Eric goes to board that day. Lyle goes to board the day after. I 100% can't do any of that. And they're like, they rescheduled my entire album rollout so that I could have this weekend to be with you guys. I literally have emails saying I'm gonna have to be with my people to process what we experienced. I'm not doing an album. You guys, I literally have emails saying I'm gonna have to be with my people to process what we experienced. I'm not doing an album rollout in the midst of Eric and Lyle going to board. I'm like, literally not.
It's so
So
sweet.
We appreciate that so much. That's so sweet.
Oh, X, we
yeah.
love you.
You made me feel so
Aw.
much better. I was a wreck. I was crying. I feel so much better now.
I'm happy. I really wanted that for
Better. I was a wreck. I was crying. I feel so much better now.
I'm happy. I really wanted that for everybody. I'm trying to make sure I get to Talia to get her back together.
Yeah.
She's going through it right now. I reached out to Tammy and Anna Maria. And so there's a lot of high emotions, but just people don't understand the circumstances. So I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to put this in perspective for everybody. And I love you all too. This is my crew, my tribe. I found my tribe.
Thank you so much, X.
Thank you, X, so
You're
much.
welcome. Let me see. So someone asked a question.
Yeah. Does anyone in the chat have any questions?
I can't see. I don't have my glasses, so you guys take over.
No, of course.
Okay. What did they say he did in jail that got him denied? I don't know what they specifically said. I just know that I heard from an attorney, and that attorney relayed to me that it was specifically disciplinary history and the way the disciplinary history was addressed. And so I'll hear from Eric. Eric will give me a call probably tomorrow sometime. Let me see if I heard from him right. Well, I've been on. Eric will give me a call probably tomorrow sometime. Let me see if I heard from him right. Well, I've been on here. But he's online. Yeah, I'll most likely hear from Eric sometime tomorrow. But I just really wanted overall. I'll most likely hear from Eric sometime tomorrow. But I just really wanted overall. I wanted everyone to understand this part. The lawyer told me it was the way that the disciplinary history was addressed. So I'll know if that's true when I talk to Eric. But that's what I was told. The part that I want to say so that nobody else runs with this particular part of it, if I don't clarify, when they want to deny you, it doesn't matter what they said the reason was. It really doesn't matter. The truth is they were going to have a reason. They were going to give him a 3-year denial. It didn't matter what they had to say the reason was. They had to have a reason. So there was going to be a reason. So if it's all your disciplinary history, that's what the reason was. The crime can't be the reason. It's an immutable factor. Immutable factors are unchangeable circumstances. I cannot ever change if I did 100 years, survived, lived, and went aboard. This crime is going to be horrible. So if it's how horrible the crime is, I'm never getting out because this is always going to be horrible. That's an immutable factor. So there comes a point where that is acknowledged, but it can't really be the reason because you could do a perfect program. You got your life together, you figured it out. We could clearly see you're rehabilitated, but your crime is horrible, so you're never getting out. It's like, why do you have a parole board? Why are we even here then? Because these crimes are always going to be horrible. My crime is horrible. Lau and Eric's crime is horrible. Someone lost their life. It's always horrible. It's going to be horrible. And so that couldn't have been the reason for a denial. They didn't say this magical, horrible moderate that Hockman wanted to blab about through all the resentencing hearings. And every time somebody pulled a microphone out, they literally didn't deny Eric for that, right? So they have to have a reason. And I'm glad they pulled a microphone out. They literally didn't deny Eric for that, right? So they have to have a reason. And I'm glad the reason wasn't the risk assessment because the media would have ran with that. So if they have to pick disciplinary history, I can live with that. I can live with that because time is the answer for that particular thing. That's a thing you could deal with because they did say, the amount of time that you've been disciplinary free, it's in recent, what they would call recent in comparison to the amount of time that you did prior to that before you changed your life. So I don't know, in my humble opinion, disciplinary history is typically the reason. Like with that, I believe that disciplinary history was one of the reasons they used with my denial, actually. But they told me to go stay out of trouble. So they'll tell you the reason you're being denied, but then they'll tell you what they want you to go do. But they told me to go stay out of trouble. So they'll tell you the reason you're being denied, but then they'll tell you what they want you to go do. And typically, whatever they want you to go do is in response to whatever it was they denied you for. So what's the answer to you have recent disciplinary history? The answer to that is go sit down somewhere for a little and give us more time. They don't want you to do anything. Like Eric's maxed out. What is he supposed to do that's going to improve his central file over what's already in there? College degrees, life care and hospice. Those are championship caliber outcomes to have in your central file. So essentially, they're going to do him like they did me and tell him to go stay out of trouble for 18 months. That's literally, it's frustrating and infuriating, but it's also an indication of how close you are to going home. Right. And so I feel great about it. I'm not going to lie. Nobody's raining on my parade. I thought we were getting a 3-year denial. I didn't want to say that to anybody and publicly or on social media or even in our community. I didn't want to do that. But I literally, my assistant, the record label, my lady, my lawyer, my mom, I'm like, we'll probably get a 3-year denial. We'll go back in 18 months. Like my assistant hit me tonight. She's like, you called it. Like literally told her exactly what was going to happen. This is how it's going to happen. This is how long it's going to take. And we'll do 18 months. He'll go back and Eric is going to be free by June 2027. That's barring a positive outcome with the habeas corpus before that. And right. Here we are. So
right. And like
I never would have done that to any of you. I wouldn't have put that on your spirits or, wanted anybody to say, why does X think that? But I thought this the whole time.
And the brothers are thinking the same thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's basically what everybody wants to know is they're okay. And they have the same mindset that you do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've seen 100. I repeat, I walked up to that gate distraught. I was distraught because, I had never had hope. And so the only thing that I would be conscious of right now is the heartache from having built up the courage to have hope and then feel like that got smacked up a little bit, the area that I would be. So I'm waiting to hear from Eric so that I can make sure his spirit is good, just his spirit. Right. But in terms of intellectually, logically, just from a purely non-emotional place, he 100% would have said this would be the outcome, and if it was the outcome, that would be a desirable outcome versus
I'm
a
just
5, 7 year denial.
I'm really quickly gonna interrupt. I'm so sorry, but it is 11:15 at night where I am, and I have to be up at 5:30 in the morning for work. So I'm gonna hop off. Thank you so much, X, for coming on here and soothing so many of our like anxieties. So much love for you. But you guys can keep going. I'm just gonna hop off because, like I said, I have to be up at 5:30 in the morning for work. So I gotta log off.
All right, that kind of
Thank you,
makes two of us.
Jules.
I'm a 5 o'clock riser too. All right,
Log off.
all right, that kind of
Thank you,
makes two of
Jules.
us. I'm a 5 o'clock riser too. All right. Well, does
All right.
anybody have a question before we go?
Yeah,
Let's
you
see.
guys get your questions in.
We were talking about Governor Newsom, and we were talking about Governor Newsom, and I have just always had this gut feeling that he's so sympathetic towards the brothers. Now, one of my concerns is, and I could look this up after. I shouldn't probably even bring it up, but will he still be governor in 18 months?
That is a great question.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
know. Maybe somebody in the chat could Google how long his term is.
I believe that, let me see. I know Betty Yee is set to run. That would be very good for us. We have great relationships there. Um, I'm our war with Texas as a Californian and redrawing of districts and maps. Uh, frankly speaking, the state is going to stay blue, and
Yeah.
pretty much as a result of
Yeah.
that,
Yes.
it does.
Yeah.
Gavin Newsom don't got to be governor to be like. What are we really talking about? Like Gavin Newsom's running for president. Newsom don't got to be governor to be like. What are we really talking about? Like Gavin Newsom's running for president as we speak. Like he's has a presidential campaign rolling out in front of everybody.
Right.
And I hope he wins, by the way. And
Yeah.
so he has a presidential campaign rolling out in front of everybody.
Right.
And I hope he wins, by the way. And
Yeah.
so that's just me. And so we're going to have this guy who still has all of this influence in the state of California that's going to stay blue. So I don't perceive that, like, California's not going to randomly elect a Republican governor in
No.
2020.
No.
Like, that's 26 will not be the year that they decide to do that.
Definitely not.
Sorry.
Definitely not.
You can just look out at the horizon right now, what's going on, and say,
Right.
yeah, California's definitely not doing that.
No. No. Not putting
Because
money
that's
on
what
that.
we're really talking about.
Yeah.
It don't got to be Gavin Newsom. We're saying, are we going to get a conservative Republican who would just flush all of this down the toilet?
No.
And the answer was like, California's not doing that anytime soon.
Nope.
Someone in the chat, Goose, asked a question, which
Yep.
I'm not going to get it right because it flew by, but it was something to the effect of, what do you think is there a good chance that decision tomorrow? And I know you're not a psychic, but do the best you can with it. And I know you're not a psychic, but do the best you can with it.
I think that this is a very unpredictable circumstances. It's a circumstance. We're going to have a different set of commissioners.
Right.
That plays a role, and I think Lyle's chances are pretty.
Right.
That plays a role, and I think Lyle's chances are are pretty good for this to go anyway. Like I'm prepared for extraordinary outcomes. If Eric got a grant, I'd have been like, "Holy crap! I thought we were getting a 3-year denial. This is awesome." I would have
Right.
shifted and been fine with that, and it wouldn't have made me blink because it's been extraordinary and miraculous the entire like this now. So I'm prepared for miracles and comfortable with their existence.
Right.
I'm willing to have them.
Right.
And so if that happened tomorrow, I wouldn't bat an eye. I'd be like, he should be home. From what they've done and the work they've done. Let's be very clear that if not for processes, politics, and these things, I perceive that they should be free, as we all do, for the amount of work they've already done, and so do correctional officers and wardens. So, and saying, should Lyle still be there? Should Eric still be there? Absolutely not.
Right.
But the way that this machine operates, specifically, the same way we never see lows and lows are unicorns, initial parole grants are very rare experiences at initial hearings. And 3-year denials are usually the coveted outcome. Not only the expected or anticipated outcome, but typically the coveted outcome.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Yeah, wow. And speaking of the machinery, I actually have a question. One of my neighbors had mentioned this. Is it true that if the parole board grants the parole and then it goes to the governor, I know the governor has so many days to respond. Is it true that if the governor doesn't say yay or nay, because the parole board recommended it, it goes through anyway?
Yes, sir. That is 100% correct.
Okay.
That is what we call like a blind grant. Like
Right.
the governor, if the governor's like, I'm going to ignore this,
Right.
the time expires, and then the guy goes home. It's automatic default.
Right.
So if the governor defaults, you leave. And it's his way of not challenging it, but not acquiescing either.
Yeah, because that's been my concern for weeks now, in that because this case has always been about politics, that somehow would be Newsom's way out of not being political and, making everybody happy. In other words, by if you don't touch it, the parole would still be granted because the governor ignored it.
Right. Our complication is it weaponized against Newsom on the campaign trail to be president that he signed off on the Menendez brothers going on?
Right.
Do they weaponize that and attempt to use that against him? And then does he care?
Right.
Would he own it and say, yeah, I absolutely did. They've done a great job and they're going to continue. Does he own it?
Right.
Would he own it and say, yeah, I absolutely did. They've done a great job and they're going to continue. Does he own it?
Right.
That would be a discussion amongst his team. Do they perceive that owning, being the governor who released the Menendez brothers, to actually be a positive on his resume, as opposed to the negative? Like, the people who would object to this aren't my coveted demographic anyway.
Right.
That type of thing. The people who would object to this aren't my coveted demographic anyway.
Right.
That type of thing, versus he allows it to default and he doesn't have to worry about it at all. He didn't oppose it, but he didn't grant it either. So it is a cop out that is available to be had if someone so chose. And I think this circumstance is so extraordinary that failing to address it would probably be just as bad as
Right. I
addressing
agree.
it.
I
Yeah, I
agree.
think
I
that's-
really think Governor Newsom would take a stand on this one. I really do, and I think he's sympathetic. I really believe that. So
So do I. And then it would end up with a personal interest. Lyle and Eric aren't about to hurt anybody. They weren't civilians. Have never been at risk of. They've never been a threat to the safety and security of society outside of their home. We all know the story. I'm preaching to the choir here. So, it's just a ridiculous thing.
right.
Goose also asked, why couldn't X-Rated testify if he was Eric's sponsor? So I wrote a biography um, in relation to being Eric's sponsor, what that experience was, and my perception of his rehabilitation. But no one is allowed to testify at parole hearing, at a board appearance. The reason that we're having this extraordinary circumstance yet again is because we have the unusual circumstance of the victim's family actually being related to the person appearing at the board. That's not typically how it goes. So, like, normally you would have a victim's family who was not related to the perpetrator. And for that reason, the victim's family gets to speak according to law. We're all aware of the laws and the rules. We're all aware of the laws and the rules that allow for the victim's family to be able to speak. And so, not being a DNA relative, even though I'm the Menendez brother and the Black Sheep, I was not able to testify. So initially, the lawyer asked me about it, told me she wanted me to do it, and then Newsom was not able to testify. So initially, the lawyer asked me about it, told me she wanted me to do it, and then Newsom, they said the governor's office tightened up a little bit over some of the celebrities and the potential for a circus to occur. So, like, for me, I didn't have anybody testify for me. It was just me and my lawyer, the sheriff, the district attorney, and the victim's family, who, members of the family actually spoke up on my behalf and said they would, they believed that I should be freed and that I was rehabilitated. So I was very blessed and fortunate. But there was no one to speak for me other than my attorney, myself, and then my support letters. That's normal. So the abnormality here is that Lyle and Eric, the victim's family, is their family, and they're advocating for their release. So it appears like all these family members get to speak on their behalf, but they're really in position because of their relation to Kitty and Jose.
Interesting.
Right.
I'm trying to read the questions.
I'm
like,
sorry.
"Geez, I need my
I can't
glasses."
see. I don't have my glasses.
I know, I can't either.
I think we got them all.
Yeah, I think we do too.
Yeah.
We so
I'm
appreciate this.
scrolling.
We
I'm
so
pretty
appreciate
sure.
this.
I just want to say thank you so
Oh,
much
yeah.
because I was a wreck and I feel so much better now. So thank you so much.
I told him you were a wreck.
I was.
Yeah. And that's okay. I was really concerned about that. And I'm still concerned. I got to get a hold of my baby girl and make sure she's okay. Eric's daughter is not happy right
Yeah.
now. She's taking this really hard. So I'm going to make sure that I'm able to let her know that everything is going to be okay and to just get her to take a breather. It's a heavy punch to take when your hopes are up that high. And,
Mhm.
I'm watching that and I didn't want to say, like, hey, this is what I believe is going to occur. And maybe I got to analyze that. But I just didn't want to be a negative Nancy. I've seen positive outcomes and miraculous things happen in extraordinary circumstances.
I mean,
just didn't want to be that
May
person.
May 14th was a miracle
Right.
when they were resentenced. That was a miracle. I mean, 35 plus years incarcerated, and then suddenly there's a possibility of parole, a possibility you can get out. That was huge, and I don't think people appreciate that, but it was.
Right. Right.
All right.
Well,
Well, we'll let you go. Thank you
somebody
so
said
much.
Becky can hear sadness in my voice. I am sad, Becky, honestly. Um, I'm sad, but I'm also celebrating what I understand to be a victory. What I'm sad about really is that everybody's hopes, all the people, I've been watching this for a while, kind of like waiting and wondering, and like, you never know, man. Watching this for a while, kind of like waiting and wondering, and like, you never know, man. You just never know. You try to predict this stuff, and then boom, the most unlikely outcomes happen. But like, I knew we were getting the resentence. I knew that was gonna. I just was like, this is a victory. We're winning, and I just thought that the whole time. And boom, sure enough,
Right.
we're winning the habeas, and I feel like we won this too. It's just helping people understand that we won and how we won, so that they can have perspective. So that's a little sad that my people are mourning a little bit right now. And as one of you, I'm an empath, so I do feel. I felt so alarmed. Like as soon as I was aware, I just wanted everybody to know, like, hey, 3-year denials are not bad as you might think. I got a 3-year denial too. I just immediately wanted to reassure everybody and try to make sure that people weren't despondent and didn't fall into despair or think it was the end of the world. So yeah, I was definitely a little sad for the tribe and our people and the family. Um, they're very, very intelligent, beautiful people. I'm a huge fan of this family, and so their ability to process what this means is very high, and their awareness of what's going on and what it means. And, who knows what Lau and Eric have said in their private moments. But it really wasn't for me to be the person who said, hey, I think this, and this, or, I talked to this attorney and that attorney, and this is kind of where this is the consensus out there. I just didn't feel like that was for me to do. And, especially, I'm hopeful because there have been extraordinary circumstances and outcomes the entire time. So why would that stop, And I don't believe it has. I think a 3-year denial, you return in the entire time. So why would that stop, And I don't believe it has. I think a 3-year denial, you return in 18 months, we're going to get a grant. And if they don't redraw our maps in California, we're pretty much going to have the right person in office no matter what. So I'm really not worried about it. I walked that exact path to freedom. So I don't perceive it the same way as everybody else because I'm free with my children and my home, with my career, this beautiful tribe that I have, and this life I have, having gone through exactly what Eric just went through today. So I don't know how to be pessimistic about that when I'm free right now.
Amazing.
I just feel bad too for the aunts, It's just, that's the sad part
Yeah.
because they're sick and, they want to hold their nephews again.
Yeah, that's so true.
But
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, we'll let you go. Thank you for your time and for your words. Everybody says they feel better now listening to you.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I won't cry
Yeah.
myself to sleep anymore. Well, maybe. I'm
No,
crying again, so
don't.
maybe. I'm a wreck. I can't help it.
You have to know Regina X. You have to know Regina.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm,
but it's a part of what makes you beautiful. You got to be who we are. I'm a hopeless optimist. I'm this guy. I'm gonna show up and say, "Hey, on the bright side," like that's gonna be me, and it'll be annoying, and but it'll also be pretty accurate. So I'm gonna show up and do that. And some of us are gonna, have our emotionality, and that'll allow all the rest of us, for me to experience that, Regina. So it's good for you to be you. It be me. I love
yeah.
it.
I'm gonna ask you another favor, X.
Talk to me.
Uh-oh. Do you remember during the hearings and we were having lunch at the farm to table restaurant across from the courthouse, And there was a young
Hmm.
lady, a pretty young lady in there, and I said, when you walked in the door, she started trembling. Do you remember
Yes.
that? Yeah, and you went over and I introduced her. Her name is Ivana, and it was her
Yeah.
birthday this week, and she's in the chat. Could you wish Ivana a happy birthday for me?
Happy birthday, Ivana.
Thank
Oh,
you. Yeah, I'm seeing her tomorrow, so she'll be
she's
all
so
excited.
sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Happy
thought I
birthday,
was. I
Ivana.
wished her. I thought I wished her a happy birthday on
Oh, maybe
social
you
media.
did. Maybe you did.
I,
Yeah.
I really hope I did. I would
Yeah.
be mortified if I didn't. But I mean, I had a crazy day. I got up this morning and got the boys situated, and then I went into the facility to do some filming and stuff like that, and then I jumped out of there to do a post for the tribe, and didn't even really get to look at it, and went right back to filming. Finished that for the tribe, and didn't even really get to look at it, and went right back to filming. Finished that and had to get prepared for News Nation, which I'm glad I did because I feel like I made some really good points on there. And then like made sure that we what a day and what a day tomorrow will be.
Oh,
And you just never know.
Hmm.
You never know. Here's the you just never know. You never know. Here's the optimist in me. You just never
no,
know.
it's
Tomorrow
true
could be
though.
the weirdest experience
Yeah.
ever. The Red Sea could part yet again, and it's like, oh,
Yes.
here comes
Oh,
Lyle.
yeah. Yeah.
Like Lyle's on
I
his way
can't.
home.
I can't
We
take another long day.
yeah. I mean, that's all we ever, as advocates for the Menendez brothers, it's definitely a roller coaster. Definitely a roller coaster.
It's been like that for so long.
Yep. You just never know. You're
When we were
absolutely right.
happy or sad.
Yep.
Yep.
I.
All right.
Well,
Well,
thank you,
thank you,
X.
Lucky Star. Thank you. I appreciate that. Um, Everybody did really good here. Let me see. Great comments. We need
Everybody
X to
was
come back
crashing out
tomorrow after
everywhere.
last hearing. Yeah, I will be back tomorrow. I'll either go live or jump on the live with the tribe. We'll congregate again. I'll be available through the weekend. That's kind of what I did with my schedule. I told the record label like Thursday through Sunday for me is Menendez. So like that's all there is to it. And they can Monday I'm gonna have to continue where I picked left off earlier today, but I told them that was it. I did what I had to do today, and they don't have any access to me until Monday. I got that post out of the way for my whatever. There was a single or something we had to post, so we did it Wednesday because I'm Thursday and Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's out. Like it just would be insensitive, and I refuse to do it. So we did it Wednesday because I'm Thursday and Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's out. Like it just would be insensitive, and I refuse to do it. And they support that. The record label's been great about everything. Menendez, they've been awesome and understanding because the schedules are really strict, and they've allowed me to bend a lot of different things and make concessions for me out of respect, and to come to understand, and I even advocate, behind closed doors for allowing Eric to be free. So I'm really grateful to the record label for that, and for that reason, I'll be available tomorrow. I'll be available Saturday and Sunday to be able to commune with the tribe.
Oh, great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Because
We
I'm
really
I'm gonna
appreciate it.
I'm gonna need you again tomorrow. If not, I'm gonna crash out.
Yeah, we'll crash out together. We'll
Okay.
crash out together. Yeah, it's gonna be okay. I say this. Everybody thanks me. I'm the one extending the thanks. The tribe does so much for my spirit. Um, it's a two-way street. It's not me showing up as some messiah. I feel like I'm the one who gets uplifted when I interact with everybody, and that was one of the first things I'm like, hey Patrick, can we get the tribe together? It's for me too. Not just whatever I can contribute, but the energy and all the positivity and the hope and even our emotionality and everything that we go through and riding this crazy roller coaster, I get to do it with you all too. So that means a lot to me as well.
We appreciate that. We won't schedule anything right now because you might have interviews tomorrow.
Yeah. Let us
So
know,
we
Well,
Level.
guess what? They can't do. They're kind of stuck with the schedule I can give them. I have TMZ tomorrow. Not sure when, but same thing. Battle some of these. They tried to go with the moderate risk assessment being an issue. I want to combat that so that those narratives don't end up running around in the press. So I get that out the way.
Right.
Make sure the perception of the 3-year denial can't have Hockman and all these people running around acting like they just scored some type of points because they think the
Oh,
3-year
yeah.
denial
Yeah.
is so horrible. It's like that's
Yeah.
not the reality. A 3-year denial is the lowest possible denial. 18 months go back, bam, is typically the way that they let people go. And yeah, I'm going to continue to say that. So I'm sure I'll have some media tomorrow, but I'm going to be available for the tribe because I'll need it. I'll get my cup drained. I continue to say that. So I'm sure I'll have some media tomorrow, but I'm going to be available for the tribe because I'll need it. I'll get my cup drained. I come back to the tribe. Everyone pours. I'm back. You can send me back in the battle.
When you
Well,
heard the news, you probably went, "Yeah, I got some fires to put out."
I literally did.
Yeah.
I went straight. I did that video. I got that posted. Hey, this is what a 3-year denial means. I got that one done, and then I texted you. Like those were the first 2 things I did.
Right. That's funny.
and then
Yep.
Patrick called me. I'm like, Patrick, I'm crying. I can't go live. I'm like, I
She
can't
couldn't
even
even
talk.
talk yet.
And then
Yep.
Patrick called me. I'm like, Patrick, I'm crying. I can't go live. I'm like, I
She
can't
couldn't
even
even
talk.
talk yet. She couldn't talk. It was like, okay.
But that's exactly why I wanted to go live. That's why I wanted everyone to be together.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be a live. We can do group calls, group chats, whatever.
Right.
I don't have a problem with it. Isn't necessarily for public consumption, but I do believe it's beneficial for people to be able to run this stuff back. What's up with Carrie? How's she doing?
She's good. She's good.
Okay.
Yeah, she's she's really good on the political wagon. So
Right.
politics, discussing politics, and no, she's good. She usually stops in. Oh, this was a spur of the moment live.
True.
It
It really was.
Regina usually does promos and that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's true. Well, I appreciate everyone. Thank you so much for your time. It's 11:40 for me, and my little guys don't care if I got 2 hours of sleep. They're up and at it in the morning.
Exactly.
They don't care. Yeah. They don't care at
Aw.
all.
They don't
It's
care at
the
all.
coolest
Kids don't
thing
care.
ever.
Yeah.
They don't. I'm
Oh,
having
well,
so much fun.
thank you, X,
With,
and get some rest.
oh
Yes.
boy, what is
Thank you.
that? Rest.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm still gonna cry myself to sleep, but
introduce me to this mysterious rest when you get a minute. Yeah,
I haven't
do
rested all
that to
month
me.
either.
Yeah, I'm gonna walk around social media a little bit, eat a snack, and see if I can calm my nerves, get myself to sleep, and we'll start over tomorrow. So I'm around. If anybody needs me, reach out to Patrick. Um, get in touch. If we need to group up, we'll group up. I don't have a problem with that at all. I know everybody, we have lives and work and things like that, duties and responsibilities. But if I'm needed, put up the bat signal and I will pop up.
Well, let me know too, because I can do promo and all that too.
Yep,
Or let Patrick know,
absolutely.
sorry. All right. Well, have a good night. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody. Thank you.
Good night,
Bye.
everybody.
Good night.
Good night.